Hey Al. So another common pain point that I hear about is being unable to style an application. So the usual answer to that is to just use something like CSS. But Streamlit has actually since provided more of a way to kind of bridge the gap so that you can do some styling on your own without needing to get into the nitty gritty of CSS. So let's get into it. Okay, so firstly, this is the documentation for Streamlit's config.toml that they have. So they have a theme section here, and they've added a lot more. They didn't used to have this. This is like just look at the options. There are so many options that you can choose from. And I've gone through a couple in the application, so that's what we'll go through. Okay. So coming into the code here, you can see that it's a basic app that I have set up. I have some dummy data that AI generated for me. I have some tabs. I have some headings which I want to style, some buttons, and a chart. And the way that we're going to style this then is entirely with config.toml, which, if you're not familiar with this, you would make a .streamlit folder in the root of your project, and then you would make a config.toml file here. And so the server and the browser you can kind of just ignore for now. We're not really going through that, but the theme here is the subsection that I want to point to. So the first one is the base theme. So Streamlit supports light and dark mode. So we can go ahead and set this here to light. And you can see that that makes it a light theme, which in my opinion kind of burns your eyes. So I like using dark themes. So we're going to go back to that. And then you can save it. And some settings in here, it's good practice to refresh the page, but some settings will be saved automatically and refresh. All right, so the next one that I want to cover here is these headings. So this is how they look by default in H1, H2, and H3, which if you're not familiar, those are just the HTML way of like how to the order of the actual headings, and you just put in for markdown you just put in little pound signs before that to say which heading size you want. So in the toml file here, what you can actually do, so you can define this list here in a property called heading font size, and so each element in the list will correspond to the heading number. So this first element will be heading 1, then heading 2, and then heading 3. So if we save that, then you'll see that these appear a lot bigger. So now the buttons here, these don't appear all that exciting, just a kind of a blah background, I guess. So you can add a type parameter onto each one of these buttons to be able to have it follow a certain style that Streamlit has set out. So let me do that right now. Just tab these in properly, and then we can just save it. So if you set it to primary, then it's going to follow just what the primary style is. You can see the red up here. That's the default primary accent color that Streamlit uses. So by setting a button in primary, it follows that. Now let's see how we can go at styling these a little bit. So this, as I said, follows the primary accent color that Streamlit has. So we can set the primary color in the config to be blue instead. And then another neat feature I found is if we want to, a common request is like you want the button to appear like it has curvier edges, I guess. You can do that. So we'll set that to 80 pixels just so that we can see a difference. And you see 80 pixels, that makes all the buttons very curved. And by setting primary color to blue, we've not only changed the color of the active tab, we've also changed the actual primary button that we have, the background of that. All right, so lastly, I want to look at the chart here. So in particular, this is a Plotly. You can see our importing Plotly Express. This is a Plotly chart that we're looking at. So by default, with this theme, it's going to be kind of the light blue color. Now, a feature of Plotly is that we can actually add a color parameter, and the color parameter is going to be that's going to be based on the data category that we have. So all the months here, by specifying that as the color, this is going to give it a categorical color. So each month is going to get its own color. So if we save that, you see everything has a unique color in there. If we want to, say, change the color of that, we could go in Plotly and do some Python code there to end up changing that. But if we want to have that centralized so that we are only doing it in config.toml, so that if we have 7 charts, they all follow the same scheme, then what we can do is we can actually add another property here, chart categorical colors. And the advantage here is this is also not only going to work for Plotly, but it's going to work if you have other charts that you want to use, like if you're using Vega or Altair or something like that. By the way, I don't know how it's actually pronounced. I just pronounce it Altair because I played a lot of Assassin's Creed as a kid. So by adding chart color categories, it's going to, you see we have 6 elements here and 6 elements on the chart here. So this works perfectly. So if we go ahead and save that, and this one we do have to actually refresh the entire page for, then you see that the categories actually change. So FFF is that's a hex code for white. So that's how that works. Or you can specify an actual string of a common color like red, blue, or orange, and that corresponds to those. These are just the common colors for those values. Or again, you can specify hex colors. These are just a little bit more complicated, these values. And these give you kind of a greenish bluish. Hex colors are good to use if you want a little bit more flexibility, like you have an exact shade that you want to use. All right, so that was just some styles that I picked out that I thought would be most impactful to the applications that you're building. But yeah, if you take a look here, there's a lot of other stuff that you can specify to help with the styling. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.